Though it is sort of the slowest rave.
The opening, it's like
Yeah, it's sort of like this is like some movie that they're telling you is based in Seattle, but it's really filmed in Vancouver. As they're driving through. Hey, everybody. David Bullock says, I'm just here for the poutine. Samesies. I do. Dude, you know it. The technical difficulties power hour begins now. Apologies. We've got a little setup that we got to do at the beginning of all this, and sometimes it's just got to be done when we can't stop until we've done it. But it's ThursdAGE, and here I am hanging out with you all, and I've got very special guests. Look who's in the chat. Hey, I want to know where people are geographically. So on this planet, or another, really. I mean, we're not picky. But let us know where you are from as I take down the Modesty Shield and share with you, to my great delight, our guests today. Hi, guys. How are you? So you see, we have Jonesy, whom I am come to learn is just Jonesy. That's your legal name. It's like I said earlier, like Cher or Madonna or Clippy. I dig it. That's perfect. We've got Ian Lemke as well, and then we've got Malcolm Sheppard as well. So the three of you are here on a very auspicious day. Jonesy, you want to give us the rundown?
Yeah, so we're happy to announce our first major compendium release for Cthulhu, and this happens to be Cthulhu Awakens, is now available on Roll20. The first of many that are coming. So
very exciting. So now just so that we can be sure that everybody understands what all of this means, the compendium is huge. That's a big thing, right? It's a big engine that kind of helps things go, and this is our first for. We've got products on Roll20, but give us a little insight into some of the work that goes into creating the compendium.
Yeah. So the compendium is basically me taking all of Malcolm and everyone else's hard work when they built this book and then translating it into functionality onto Roll20 itself. So it is all the rules and then a bunch of underlining data maps that will allow them for all the cool features that Roll20 does, like being able to roll damage and stats and stuff off the character sheet, being able to drag and drop specialties as you level up onto your character sheet. And as you find dangerous tomes throughout your investigations, the GM can actually have you pull it to your character sheet and will load automatically onto your character sheet with all the workings that are built into it and things like that. So it is pretty cool.
Awesome. I'm going to pull it up here so that we can see it. Uno momento. But okay. So I hear you. You basically take the work that they've done and you make it useful in the in the Roll20 space. But that's exciting. So are there some features that people will see that they may not be accustomed to seeing in some of our other titles?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is that this is the full compendium. It is actually like we've done adventures and some other support material in the past that have been pretty cool. In my opinion, they've been pretty cool. But this is, like I said, has a lot of the expanded functionality, such as the drag and drop and leveling up of your character and all that the adventures don't really go into because that doesn't have any of the character-driven rules and mechanics in it. So.
Now, when does the drag and drop come in? Is it sort of like an amusement ride, or is it like a claw machine? Where you?
Yeah. So when you're going in, as an example, I can go in on the Roll20 interface. There's the chat section where you can see all the chat back and forth between you and the other players, and also all the dice rolls. There's a journal entry, compendium entry, where you can click on it, and so I can go into the category for like entities, which lists all the monsters in the book. And I can, as a GM, just grab that entry from the book, drag it onto the table, and the token will appear on the table, and the character sheet will open up for me with all of the stats, everything preloaded. And so,
nice.
As an example, I can drag a deep one the deep one entry onto the table, and as a GM, I now have a token for the deep one, and I have the full character stat sheet available for me to use and roll the attacks, and he calls at you without having to do any extra work. It's all there already, preloaded.
That's right. And with the book, you actually have to do a bunch of rituals, and you got to sacrifice a bunch of stuff, and it's really kind of messy. But with Roll20, you can just do it with a click and a drag. I love it. $59.99 for the all of this jam-packed stuff. Plus, we've got rollable tables. What's that? Yeah,
so for Cthulhu, if you're playing at home with the PDF or the book when it comes out in a couple of weeks, you can pick. You can work with the GM to either pick what you want, like backgrounds and professions and stuff, or you can roll in the random tables. Well, all those tables are in Roll20, so I can actually click on the entry and it'll roll the initial. Okay, what is your character's social class? It'll give me the 4 options, and I can click a button and it'll auto roll all of that for me, and I can see. So it's kind of like going down the table where you normally roll the dice and have to jot everything down. It's just one click of a button. It does the dice rolls and tells you the result and walks you to the next step on that.
It's like we've entered the new millennia. I love it. Okay, we've got The Gathering, which I think I know what this is. Is that an Ian Lemke joint?
No, that is the adventure from the back of the core rulebook.
Yeah, Ian wrote it. Yeah. It is. So it is. Yeah, that's great. So Ian, do you want to tell us a little bit about The Gathering? What that, or do you want to keep it a secret?
I mean, I don't want to say too much because people listening might be playing, but I'll give a little bit of personal background on it.
Sure.
It's an adventure I actually wrote for a gaming group. I don't know a quarter century ago. It's based on that, and it's set on one of my favorite vacation places, which is Cumberland Island on the south shores of Georgia. And that island just has so much rich history and things going on. It's changed in the adventure to protect the guilty, but there's an old Carnegie mansion that's in ruins now, and who knows, maybe what happens in the adventure is why it's currently in ruins now. So yeah, I've actually run variations of this particular story multiple times over the years, and it's always been a hit with my players. So cool. I thought it would make a good adventure for
Looking forward to hearing what people think about that. We love an Ian adventure for sure. And then Unseen Influencers.
That one is by Steve Kenson.
Ooh,
and it kind of bookends the book. Wow, that was a redundant thing to say.
Book them, Dano.
Well, because Cthulhu Awakens allows you to play through, from the 1920s to the present, right?
Mm.
And we have support and lore for that whole period. I wanted to make sure that we had 2 adventures from 2 different chunks of time. So The Gathering is set in the 1930s, and Unseen Influencers is contemporary. It's a contemporary adventure set in Appalachia.
Ooh, that's a region rich with all kinds of lore and exciting things. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. So they say.
That's
and
right.
there's some cool stuff in it. But both of them are, introductory level adventures, and it's kind of cool to see the fact that we've got them adapted, because I am relatively new to online play, and when I do it, it's usually very simple. Like my regular game is a Discord game where we all roll physical dice, and it's just on the honor system, right?
Right. You're still teaching people swordsmanship. So
yes.
Yeah.
But
a Renaissance man.
Yeah. But recently, I got invited to Streamcast, and I was moved through a virtual tabletop for a quick little adventure with Cthulhu Awakens, and I was not aware of all the things that a virtual tabletop can do. right? So seeing Jonesy add all of this stuff, right? Like he's like, what do you think of this, advanced test UI? And I'm like, you can do that? That's pretty cool, right? So there's like this cool mystical diagram for when you want to track advanced tests that he made. And I'm just chuffed to see stuff like that and see, because it's sort of like part of the pleasure of developing a game. Like, we don't do it so that people will do it will play it or interpret or expand it exactly the way we want them to. We do it because we want to see that kind of exploration and seeing the whole thing get offered up in a whole new medium and the options it allows, especially
It's
for
exciting.
kids. Like, because I've, the rollable tables thing, you can make a character in nothing flat. Like, it really is fantastic. And because it's Cthulhu Awakens, like, random rolls are almost never going to give you. No, I think it's almost impossible for them to really give you something bad, right? Because because we do character creation in a fairly structured and all around fashion for the game. So seeing that you can do this with by pressing a couple of keys, that's freaking fantastic, man.
It certainly leaves more room in the gameplay per game. For sure.
I feel like I'm learning to bang the rocks together here. So
exactly. But hey, I want to do a quick shout out to. I want to do a quick shout out to Brian, who's hanging out in the chat, who says congrats. And Brian is an old dear friend of mine, an old person who is also a friend of mine, very, very old. Tempo says, the great race of Yith are my favorite mythos species because they seem to be one of the few non-humans that aren't apathetic or hostile, relatively speaking. Yeah, do you, the three of you, do you have your own, hey, Giovanni, Trina Dinardi. I love that name. I feel like I butchered it, but my apologies. And welcome to the chat. Hey, so do you have what is your favorite mythos monster, creature, entity?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking the three of you. This is a talk show where we kind of ask questions and dig into the characters.
Say words about stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
one of my initial feedback with the Yithians is I guess they're kind of, you can sympathize with them up to the point where you realize their plan involves the eventual extinction of humanity.
Oh, sure.
So that they can become immortal bugs. There's that. Oh, spoilers if you haven't read some almost 100-year-old stories. But yeah, I guess for me, it's funny because we've done we kind of put our own spin on some of the monsters in the game, and I really like the way Shoggoths have turned out. We really emphasize the imitative living machine aspect of them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, for a couple of reasons. We wanted to create kind of an existential threat in creature form, right? Because if those things get out, right, they can learn how to use human technology and they can replicate technology with their bodies, right, which is something that we buffed up for the game. So
I like it. So tell me how that sort of manifests. Also, Stan, I'm with you, Stan. Let's party like it's 1999. Stan says, well, eventual extinction, but we get to enjoy things until then. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so you say that they make technology out of their body, is it do they take a piece of their body and they have a gun, or they turn into Optimus Prime, the
well, I mean, they're amorphous, right?
Sure. Okay.
They're big, they're piles of shape-shifting goo, right?
Okay.
But I wanted to lean a little more into, nowadays, in popular fiction, we have things like nanotechnology, right? Nanotechnology and hive behavior and things like that. And I wanted to bring those technological aspects, which, wouldn't have been around 100 years ago.
Yeah.
When Shoggoths were invented, and, but they would be a living part of it. So the idea is that, they can take part of that goo, right? And they can form it into even a complex machine, right?
Iridescent protoplasm.
The original, maybe a gun, sure, right? But the original story in the Mountains of Madness, talks about how they were used for industrial labor. They were enslaved for industrial labor. So I just wanted to, sort of give them the capacities that, biological robot from a 1,000,000-year-old civilization.
That's awesome. I love it.
Would actually have. So that's mine. And that is some great stuff that, I didn't, those weren't my ideas. They were the ideas of the section writer, who I think in that case was Osmills. And the developer's role is really just to, put a bit of polish on something that looks cool. And that
absolutely, and you polish very well. But Ian, how about you? What's your when you think about sort of Cthulhu mythos, who really rings your bell?
I mean, Temporary already mentioned the Great Race of Yith, and I actually really love the millennias long battle between the Great Race of Yith and the Migo, and how they're trying to influence things on Earth for their own purposes. Which, if Troy, you may be a little familiar with that from the recent adventure
that's right. Did. Yeah, exactly.
And the Great Race of Yith did make an appearance in that one, though very subtly.
Now, did you let us know who that was?
No, I actually didn't.
Yeah,
I just left it.
I think I might know who it is, but
yeah, an individual became sort of possessed during the thing, and
that's right. That's right.
Yep.
Isn't it the flying polyps?
So you had opposing agents and such working against each other.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, I really like that. I close to my heart, probably my oldest and dearest favorite are ghouls, though. I just adore ghouls. I don't know why. There's probably something wrong with me. But
I mean, no, you've got discerning taste, and throughout the course of your career, you've been exposed to some real monsters, and so I think we've got to listen to your inner monster and go with what we know.
They also don't have to be direct conflict. Like ghouls can be an ally, at least temporarily, depending on what's going on, but a very scary ally to have.
Sure. Now, okay, so what is it about the ghouls that compels you, or that you like the most about them?
I think it's just the all around creep factor, and
sure.
I realize they're not as otherworldly as a lot of the other mythos creatures, but and especially for newer players, to the people that aren't familiar with the mythos, they can understand a ghoul, where sometimes it's a little hard for them to wrap their head around some of these other cosmic entities and such.
Yes, right. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, heady concepts for sure.
And you can play them too.
Yeah. And
they're in the game, and that is in part thanks to Jonesy.
He is a ghoul himself. No.
Well, I want to, first of all, before I praise Jonesy for coming up with that, I want to clarify. Before you said his legal name was only Jonesy, and that's not true. It's the full title is Professor Jonesy Jonesavier, right?
Jonesy Jonesavier, of course.
But Jonesy said, well, I want to have PC ghouls. I want characters to discover their ghouls, and I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. Wish I'd thought of that. Oh wait, I can still add some stuff to this draft.
I love it.
I very quickly.
That's what's kind of exciting about this, right, Jonesy, is that you were able to contribute, to this, at the outset. So you really passionate and you enjoy the mythos, and were able to kind of make an impact in a big way, and then in an even bigger way by, preparing it and getting it ready for Roll20. That must be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was. So, I bugged Malcolm and went, hey, do we have any rules for this? Because I was running a little on stream. I was running a streaming game, which part of the premise was the players were all going to slowly turn into different
that's
creatures.
Right. Yeah.
And one of them I decided was going to be a ghoul, and because it'd been an idea that I'd had for a while, and then I got the early access backer kit PDF thing, and I'm like, oh, there's the Inhuman Legacy, which is an amazing, cool thing that's in this game that's not in other Mythos games, and and it made my life way easier to do what I wanted to do. And I bugged Malcolm and said, "Hey, what about this?" And he like, "Oh yeah, this, and this," and shot me off some notes. But then it ended up in the book too, which I thought was super cool. So
I love that. Yeah, yeah. Real quick though, so your what is your? I missed the stream, but I love the premise of having everybody kind of slowly learn that they are the monster. I think that's just fantastic. How did that play out with folks? Did they did they know going in that they were the monsters or
no?
Oh,
no, I surprised them. I luckily it's a group I normally stream with, so we play a lot together. So there's a certain level of trust that they have.
And the Untold Stories project, they run things just a little bit, it's just a little bit rougher, tougher kind of. Alex is he's a kind of take no prisoners kind of guy, so people are aware of something.
Yeah, and definitely there's a certain level of trust between me and the players, and I kind of knew that I kind of gave them a hint that there was gonna be some stuff coming up, so and they were like, cool, and they just ran with it when they found out.
That's so great. That's super fun. I love that. So what was your favorite mythos creature? Did we talk about that?
Not yet. My favorite one is going to be really boring compared to everyone else's, but I just have a soft spot for the deep ones. I love Shadow over Innsmouth as a story, and early, millennia ago, it feels like in my early RPG days, we would play a lot of fantasy stuff, but we also played Cthulhu, and we encountered multiple deep ones and multiple times. I mean, there were some very memorable gaming events around deep ones because those were the safest thing you can run into relatively and survive. So but that's my favorite overall. But my favorite actually from Cthulhu Awakens is actually the ghouls, and that's a lot with to do with a lot of what Malcolm did with the Dreamlands and all that stuff, and their connection with the Dreamlands. So.
Yeah, one of the things we did with ghouls was, you have the Dreamlands, right, as part of the mythos, right? And anybody can go to the Dreamlands by dreaming, right? Although they can't necessarily get very far. But there's the place you are when you're awake, and there's the place you are when you go to sleep. For ghouls, they can choose which is their waking reality and which is their dreaming reality. Right.
Oh,
because one of the things in the mythos is that ghouls are very common in the Dreamlands. Yeah. Right. So I thought, that would be a cool way to do it. Right. And then you can have things like, ghoul fantasy adventurers who just like don't bother with Earth much at all. Right. It's the place where they have very boring dreams. Right. When they manifest on Earth. Right. So what if they have to come to Earth for some reason, right? So you have these, sharp-toothed sword and sorcery heroes who know next to nothing about us, right? I love that. Right? The idea is to do that and also just do a lot of like Dreamlands weirdness. Because one of my favorite Lovecraft stories is actually like one that isn't even like that is kind of Dreamlands adjacent. It's called The White Ship. One of my favorite ones when I was growing up because of the imagery.
Say that again. It's called the
White Ship. Ship. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Like I was born on a pirate ship.
Yes. Not. I've just taken a big pirate shit. I was like, wait, what?
Without squeezing your. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, my hearing is just off the charts. But go on, please.
Yeah. So well, that was basically it. Like,
nice.
I like Dreamlands weirdness, and we adapted the ghouls for that, and because of Jonesy's incessant demands.
That's right. But when Jonesy's right, he's right. So yeah, I don't roll with it. I got to tell you, in looking, I couldn't just pick one, but I must now, and I think it's the burglar. Here in this Cthulhu Awakens tokens entities pack for $4.99. Look at these tokens. There's the burglar right there. Look at her.
Yes.
Like it. Like the burglar. I just like a burglar. I mean, whether it's, the ham burglar or some kind of like wearing the stripes and the little mask and stuff with a big bag of money. Oh, I love all that stuff. But
XPC tokens.
Yes, I was just going to ask what are XPC tokens?
XPC is for experience point chit.
Yep.
Chit, by the way,
and
chat.
Instead of doing so we have kind of we have a very loose way of doing experience points in age games, right?
Hmm.
And part of the reason is it's just so easy to do levels instead. But if you want to do, the halfway point and you want to reward participation, things like that, experience system is good. We've kind of streamlined it into something called XPC. So if you do use experience, the idea is that when somebody does something cool, you give them a chit right away.
Nice.
Right at the table, instead of doing the thing at the end of the game where it's like, well, you were good, but you were really good, but were you as good as you? You don't have to.
So it kind of feels a little bit like a hero point. Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
like
That
kind of.
recognition. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like that. And one of the things we recommend too is that kind of system, sometimes it can lead to imbalance because, you have a tendency to reward loud people because they're so entertaining.
Yes.
And so the idea, like one thing you can do, for example, is you pool them in common and you just divide them by the number of characters.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha.
so even though one person may be very prominent because of their chatty, right? It still goes into the same pool and it benefits everyone. So you're not.
Yeah, well, and also just word, just a little word to the GMs in general. A lot of people love to be recognized; they live for it, they need it. But people doing quiet, awesome things also
Yeah.
need to be included. Real quickly, I wanted to. There's a couple questions I don't want to miss. One's from our buddy Brian and says, "What's it like working on a game with inherent abstract horror concepts and eldritch entities? Was it hard to stay true to the lore? And what was your favorite endeavors creatively away from the standard lore?" And I love the way we've approached this. So I think it's a great thing for us to tackle. Malcolm, you want to dig into that?
Well, I mean, the obvious stuff, which is like, the obvious stuff, which is the inclusivity and taking a kind of more subjective approach to the open source mythos stories is really like more of a thing that I think everybody should do. But in terms of playing around with the mythos, there are a couple of things. We've sort of expanded what some of the creatures can do, because we need a kind of game functional distinguishing elements. Because if you look at a Lovecraftian horror story, there's actually not that much demand put on the monster. It just has to show up and be scary, right?
Yeah.
Or mind blasting, or but really, when you have two amorphous beings and you have a serial fiction style, the way tabletop role-playing games are, and you have the sort of metafiction of a community of people who know about the mythos, it's important to have like the one globby monster be different from the other globby monster. In a story, there's just the one globby monster, then everybody's dead or they've lost their minds, right? But
Right.
when you're leveling, you might encounter more than one. So they need to have distinguishing elements. So we've added some things to certain creatures to lean more into distinctive things they can do. Like, the living sort of industrial machine of the Shoggoths is something like that. We've taken some ideas that are from, really later science fictional things, and sort of brought them into the mythos because, if things like, nanotechnology and particle physics, things like that were more prominent back in the day, they would have been in there too, right?
Right.
So being able to do that kind of elaboration, also feel free to do it instead of feeling that we are creating a literary homage, right? So, it's game functional, I guess.
I dig that.
And that's, that's what I'm happy about having done. And that, and, kind of really taking it seriously as a game setting, as opposed to now you're in the place where that story happened that time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The idea that there's a little more structure and there are various, factions and things doing stuff is to create a sense of living in the setting, right? Very basic stuff, but it's in some ways, because the Cthulhu mythos is heavily related to a very specific cycle of stories, right? And, you know, a secondary cycle by a bunch of other authors, because thousands of people have written mythos stories.
Yeah.
You know, so being able to operate freely the way, you know, to make a game as opposed to trying to emulate something other than the basic themes of mythos horror is the thing that really.
I love that. I'm with Giovanni in chat, who says, "I really love how you guys approached racism and prejudice from HP in Cthulhu Awakens. It shows a really objective approach, and it goes very well with how we understand Lovecraft today." Yeah, and it sort of that element, it just that approach, kind of taking the stuff that doesn't work and you know, refitting it so that it's, you know, it stands in its own ridiculousness, and or reinvent, you know, sort of the standard tropes. I love that a lot. Giovanni also says that also applies to Blue Rose. I just love the vibe you guys gave on that setting and how a slice of life and the good vibes it has. Yeah, it absolutely has good vibes. Plus, just beautiful game. Just beautiful. The art is just incredible. Okay, so now we're not done yet. There's so much Cthulhu Awakens that I'm surprised Cthulhu isn't up here right now. Tell him to just keep it down. Let's see here. We're going to go to... okay, talk to me about Dread Crawls.
All right, so Dread Crawls is a zine series. We have a few of them written, but we've just released Zero. It was called Zero because originally it was going to be a one-off that was going to be an early backer reward, right, for our Kickstarter backers. And so it was, and they got it. But we're also releasing it for general sale. And this was created by Jesse Hainig, and he has done all of them. And what it is it is a series of location generators, right?
Cool.
To do location maps, and also to do maps for individual facilities, layers, temples, along with some discussion of like mythos friendly non-Euclidean geometry and spatial distortion.
Yes, that.
Right. But the idea is that we have tons and tons of detailed tables that you can use to create a place where there might be a cult. It might be prehistoric ruin. It could be all kinds of things. It could be urban, ex-urban, whatever. Jesse did just such a fantastic job on this. And the idea
love this kind of stuff,
is that you can just create a complete place to explore just by going through this without any preconceptions, right? But of course, you can always put your thumb on the scale, so to speak, and choose instead of roll whenever you want.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
But people, but as we have, learned, especially now that people have talked about how much they love a lot of older games, right, and a lot of newer games that have had this kind of approach, is people feel inspired by random tables. So here they are, right?
I love that. That's great. And then, they're fun and it's clever, and sometimes it's really fun to just sort of give over and let the developer designer of the game sort of take you on a journey that you wouldn't be thinking of in the non-Euclidean sense. Right? It says, the science of non-Euclidean spatial distortion. Easy peasy. Yeah. I love that, and I love this art. But one thing I wanted to also call out, the new DriveThruRPG layout for the website is immaculate. I love it. And when you're over there, friends, I highly recommend these little buttons here. Make sure you're following us. The product, the company, you can follow me, home. We can hang out, have a beer, whatever it takes. But make sure if you head on over there, I dropped the link in chat. Do that and then follow us. And I'm really impressed with the layout. It's pretty groovy. I'm also impressed with the layout of the zine. Now, as a person who grew up, with some adjacency to the 90s and early or late 80s. I know a zine or two, and boy, this looks better than any zine I've ever seen. It's really well done. So kudos to our friend Hal. Hal, I think, is the mastermind behind the this particular layout. Isn't that correct?
It was not Hal. It
Oh, it
was
was Hal.
another gentleman, and my downcast expression is actually me secretly looking at my phone to see if I can find it. But
One of the things I think is really cool about it, I'm biased, but the example that Jesse put in Dread Crawls uses San Diego as a backdrop. So it's kind of nice to see some West Coast Lovecraftian stuff.
Yeah.
So
well, that's where he's from, right?
Matt Sturm.
Matt Stern, that's correct.
Yes, yeah, he's right here on the.
Yeah.
Nice, excellent. I love it.
I knew it was a Matt, but there are a lot of Matts in gaming.
There really are a lot of Matts. Hey, speaking of Matts, you could get a play mat, if you just back the Kickstarter, the Valiant Kickstarter that we've got going. I don't know if folks are familiar with that, but it's
Yes,
going.
Age fans.
Hey,
Come
listen,
buy a completely separate role-playing game. Actually, seriously, dude.
if you can't
Pretty
let
good.
me,
It's the official licensed Valiant RPG.
indeed it
using
is.
Masterminds with new and revised rules.
That's right.
That make M&M a little grittier, from what I hear.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? Valiant fans twice, maybe even 3 times, have told me that the Valiant hero is a little more like blue collar.
Yeah,
It's a little more workaday guy and gal, and all of the rest. And we're at 39,477. And so I dropped the link in chat. Listen, if you can't love me at my Valiant Adventures role-playing game, then you cannot love me at my age, my adventure game engine. So listen, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. If you like us, you got to buy it all. Be a super fan. But yeah, jokes aside, it's just great. We're really excited about the partnership, the so much lore and history, all that kind of stuff. And the Valiant fans are cool. They're just a cool group of folks. They're not all weird like those DC and Marvel peeps. Okay, just kidding. DC Marvel peeps, you're fine. So now I am, as I'm vamping, wanting to hear from you, Ian, about you ran a little adventure for me and really for everyone on Beyonce's planet, and you included me and some friends of yours, and we had fun, and it was called
Revelations of the Bakai. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, with enthusiasm, he says. Yeah, it was great fun. And I'll drop a link to the actual play, but tell me a little bit about it because it's for real now.
Yeah. I saw some people posted that the King in Yellow and Carcosa and all that is their favorites. And if it is, if you haven't watched it, that's for you, because you all actually went to Carcosa and had to find your way, well, by accident, by watching a forbidden play.
We had no idea.
Yeah, you had no idea. You were just there, checking it out, and ended up elsewhere and had to find your way back. Interestingly, Malcolm mentioned the white ships, because in my original description, when you all were playing, there were white ships out. The white ships out in the harbor, and that adventure could have gone one of 2 very different ways. You all went the one way, which I had set up. The other way would have been going through the city and would have ended up going into the Dreamlands if you'd escaped by ship. That was an
fun.
alternate ending.
Yeah, it was super fun, and we didn't die, which is remarkable. Yeah. And then you had a follow-up.
Yes,
adventure, but not necessarily tied to. It's not like a Revelations of the Bakai 2 Electric Boogaloo or anything, or is it?
No, it was, but it dealt with the same characters, and the fact that you'd made yourselves known in the world as experts on the mythos. You basically drew attention to yourselves, and that was the one where you all got the invitation to attend a convention of people who are know about supernatural and
Right,
aliens.
a little touched like we are with the paranoia and the experiences that we had. We became
right. It turned out you were actually going to be kidnapped by the Migo and replaced. But
yes.
But you managed to avoid that. So
We did, and one of us got hit real hard. Well, I'm not going to share. I'm just going to say it gets a little hair raising at the end.
I tried to kill
You
someone
did.
so bad.
You did your level best, but the dice were on our side.
Massive amounts
Absolutely.
of stunt points,
Yeah. It was so much fun. We had such a blast, and I just love that whole crew. We just have a good time together. We may do something like that again. It was like a year between each one of these.
Yes.
I'll drop links here in just a minute. I'm
maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Yeah, we'll get together for some more Cthulhuan. Okay, so in this particular Revelations of the Bakai, which was great because you just kind of said, "Hey, I can do some. I'll run a game," and you just kind of pulled this out of your creative space, out of the lore that you appreciate from the mythos, and then
directly from the book, even so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and then. Well, we had all this stuff like we've got all the characters that were played are written up in a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And now, Malcolm, you did a treatment on this, right?
I did.
Yes.
Did. What I did was I took the characters and I took Ian's notes and I built it out into something sort of halfway between a full adventure and those notes, right?
There's definitely everything you need, there. And
pretty much everything you need. Like we were actually, Ian and I were actually talking about this before, right? Like, when you're running an adventure from your head, often a few pages of notes, even one page of note is all you need, right?
Right.
Because everything else you can pull from the book as you need it. You make
depend on the character that you
and so on and so forth, right? However, when you're designing one, for a general audience, you need to replace all that improvisation with guidance, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, all of the improvised description with maps. And, sorry, my cat did something. He just got
How's your kitty doing?
Looking at him. He's fine. Tibby. My cat's name is Tibble, by the way. Tibby
just is in recovery. Tibby is convalescing.
He knocked over the water dish.
Well, there you go.
Tell because his face is very wet. He's a little loopy. He had surgery for bladder stones yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's on a long-term painkiller, all of which is highly relevant for age gamers, I'm sure.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And age gamers, yeah.
Anyway, he's fine. Let's move on.
Yes, yeah, right. Well, awesome. Okay, so I am going to drop links to that. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link to if you head on over to the YouTubes and you look at our playlist, you're going to see a playlist devoted just to Cthulhu Awakens. It's called what did I call it? I called it something really cool. I called it the Vault, the Crypt, the something very Cthulhu-y. You'll know it when you see it. And here I am. I found it. It is the Repository. There we go. Very spooky. Very spooky. But I'll drop a link to the Repository. You're going to want to check that out. And thank you to our friend Cordial in chat who said that they really enjoyed seeing that and they'd like to see some more. We've got all manner of planners coming around gameplay and all kinds of actual plays with some of the people on the stream now and many more. Maybe even you. Let's see real quick. Let's see. We've got cat's gonna cat. That's really true. Cat information is always relevant. We always like to take a little cat break. And in the whole new world of streaming, we're all in our living rooms or adjacent to the pet that's going to jump up and make themselves known. So no worries on that point. Okay, so am I missing anything? We've got Cthulhu Awakens, what is it? Starts with the C. It's the compendium. And then we have the all the goodies in the roll. Hold on, I'm going to switch over so we can take a look at it with our very own eyes. We got Revelations of the Bacchae, as we talked about right here, and then we've got all the good stuff. The tokens you can buy separately, but when you buy the compendium, does that come with the tokens as a kind of a part of it?
Yeah, sure does. So just in case, I split the tokens into separate in case that's all the player wanted, is all the GM wanted. They didn't necessarily want the compendium. Then I still want them to have access to be able to get the tokens, and some GMs might find them useful. But they do come with the compendium if you buy the compendium. So
yeah, it's much easier if you just buy the whole compendium.
And then we did also do Revelations of the Bacchae on Roll20 as well.
Nice.
So the maps that were mentioned all have dynamic lighting as per our standard for our product on Roll20. The other cool thing is sometimes we, for PDFs, because of space, we have to say, for this character, use this type of stat block. All those stat blocks are automatically. We don't have to reference anything. We automatically load those all in because we don't have that same page count spacing constraint on a Roll20. So where it said, use this minion character for, so and so, we were able to just have that character named with all the appropriate stats and everything, which is cool. And one of the other cool things we did with that I was really excited about for Revelations on Roll20 was there's this really cool challenge test that was put in. And so we made this really cool tracking token, which has a mask, and the pages line up around the mask as you progress up the chain and get more and more successes.
I love that. And let's not forget the burglar. The burglar is included in this token set. There's a quick question from Duke. Says, do the tokens come with the template frame to create your own in the same style?
No, it does not. But I did want to. We're going to talk about maybe throwing that in as part of our Age Creators Alliance, like bundle template stuff, where we can include the token pack as part of that, or the token design, so they can make similar matching tokens as part of the Age Creators Alliance. So
I'm glad you brought that up. That the Age Creators Alliance information is perfectly suited for this moment of the program. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We're 5 minutes. And I'm going to take another hour to talk about Age Creators. Actually, great stuff coming along in several different form factors. One is you're going to be able to develop Age Creators Alliance content for Cthulhu Awakens here in mere moments. We are also creating a brand new, I'll say it is a gathering space that harkens back to the days of the Atomic Think Tank, and we're calling it the Atomic Think Tank. And basically it is an opportunity for people who, there are all kinds of, I would say, special roles or things that people do to make contributions to the Green Ronin community at large, and to, of course, all of the great products that we published. And the Age Creators Alliance is a big part of that. And so we're doing a bunch of consolidating of the tribes. We're going to bring people over from the Patreon. We're going to bring people over from that are out there doing sort of the freebooter stuff. We're all going to be one big happy family. Because there are also many people who do a lot of those things. And they do them all, and they're just the one person. So, that community is actually coming together really well. I'm really excited about the architecture of it, and I think it's going to do a lot to strengthen and bolster our community. It's going to help make connections with people who are doing or have interest in doing some of the same things that are kind of hardcore pals are doing. And in addition, it is just a great place to get new ideas and to, it is the Atomic Think Tank. So it'll be all the things that we loved about back in the day. I think were we using vBulletin? It's some kind of forum software from the dark ages that was just riddled with security flaws. And this new sort of incarnation is going to be really exciting. So stay tuned for that. There are even some people in chat right now that are a part of it. And so a part of helping us get set up. And so if you are there, you might want to check your PMs because I've been chatting with you and you will be excited to see what we've done. Okay. So with that being said, any, yes, olden times, but new. Anything else? Why don't we do this? I can't believe that we're almost done. But that is the way it goes here on ThursdAGE, and we get the Steam gets coming, and then we have to get out of here. V-Bulletin, PHP, BB, yes, yeah, real, yeah, exactly. Frog Taco, that's Evan. I want to ask Evan at some point. We should have him on ThursdAGE because I want to know the origins of Frog Taco, because it makes me hungry, but then also disgusted at the same time. Which is
That's pretty good though.
Frog
Yeah,
Taco?
yeah.
Yeah, Frog's pretty good.
Sounds like a B-52 song.
It does. It really
And
does.
you can
Frog Taco.
Taco.
I love it.
Trust it.
Yeah.
If you see a little frog in a taco, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's
okay.
instantly Fred Schneiderable.
It really is. It super is. Jonesy, I want to say congratulations. This is very exciting. I want to encourage everybody to go check out the good works. You're going to love it. And then I also want to, folks, if you're doing any kind of live streaming or you're doing something around Roll20 or any of the other VTT folks that are out there, but you're doing some public streaming, let us know about it. You can do that by sending a note to letsplay@greenronin.com. Does it, Fred? That's great. David Bullock says that should be a board game. Does it, Fred? Yeah, I love that. And so, Jonesy, I'm going to just kind of go down the line. We'll start with you. Anything you want to share or something that you really want people to know about the experience or what they have to look forward to as it relates to the compendium over on Roll20?
Well, one, I hope everyone checks it out. Definitely want to hear feedback. Obviously, it's our first compendium, but not going to be our last. We're working on a couple other things, like the GM's kit's coming next, along with a couple other things that I've been bugging Malcolm about that are going to kind of keep us a surprise about extra bonus content that you can get for Cthulhu on Roll20. But the next thing is the next big compendium is going to be the Expanse.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to that. Yeah, look at you. Very, very
Yes, I know. You and everyone else on the planet that's been, Expanse.
Waiting.
So,
absolutely.
Can't wait to see
Well,
what you do.
congrats. Very excited about all that stuff. You're looking forward to getting feedback. We are look forward to kind of seeing what people do with all this good stuff and, with the streamlined play experience that the compendium introduces. It's really exciting. Malcolm, anything you'd like to say about your work or really just anything, any kind of, sort of words to the wise?
Well, I am currently working on Swords of the Shadow Planet, which I have not described in very much detail, and I will continue not to describe it in detail until it's done.
It's excruciating for many people in chat.
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you, the sun is a rectangle. All right, that's it. Other than that, there are two other unannounced things that I'm working on, both for Fantasy Age, and Jonesy likes them.
They're both awesome. They're so awesome.
Basically, if you wanted more stuff in the kind of focus style of Trojan War, right?
Yes.
I've got a couple of things lined up, except they treat a topic in a focused fashion, and that topic is not historical in this case. Although it's not going to be our only venture, because there's yet another unannounced thing that I'm working on that is historical. So
you're a bastion of innovation, and
I've really enjoyed working on these short form things like Trojan War and like Cyberpunk Slice. I find it's just a great way to just really dig into one thing. So I'm looking forward to doing a bunch of these for Fantasy Age. And that's it for me.
Nice. Awesome. Ian, what do you got cooking? What's going on? Yeah. Anything you want to share about Revelations or, even just sort of your favorite recipe for frog tacos?
Okay, but I only had frog once. But
Frog
anyway.
tacos.
Frog tacos.
We already talked about Revelations of the Bakai. I think it's a fun adventure. I didn't say too much about it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone who might play it, but it definitely, if you want something really creepy, it's pretty creepy fast. A Trade to the Expanse journalist just came out not too long ago, so if you're Expanse fans, you may want to check that out.
Yeah.
I've seen some happy people about it. Trade to the Expanse Entertainer is coming next, and should be not too far off in the medium near future.
Yes.
And we've got some news on Fantasy Age front 2, which is the We're doing some short dungeon adventures, that are, so if you just need a dungeon to run, Malcolm worked on one of them, got it together, and Steve Kenson, who actually, did you write? You didn't write that one, did you, Malcolm?
No, I edited it.
Yeah.
The author is Will Hindmarch.
Right. But it's a cool Minotaur themed thing, and Steve Kenson did another one, which is going to be sort of goblin and ghoul themed. So
nice. Okay, great. And then, because I'm going to be asked incessantly and repeatedly now until the end of my days, what do we think the timeline is? And are we looking kind of like, is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it a decade?
For the dungeon adventures?
Yeah.
Or I would say within 3 months, less probably.
Okay, yeah. Which actually means, and everybody knows this, whenever we kind of say a date, you want to multiply that by 6, because that's when like a cataclysm will strike and a meteor will hit. But also, we'll endeavor to meet that goal.
The idea with these is to be short, sweet. These are not big production things, but to get some content out there for Fantasy Age. So we're going to keep those rolling too. So
right, Brian in chat, as a fellow community manager, has some experience in the, yes, we are going to stick by that date, we will die otherwise. And no, we're kidding. That's not a thing. It never has been. All right, listen, we're very nearly we've paid our debt of the 7 to 8 minutes that we were a little late. I want to share with everybody in chat, hey, listen, we really appreciate you. We appreciate both the folks who are watching live and the increasing number of people who are watching on demand. We are paying attention, and we are really excited to be connecting with you. So do me a favor, if you're hanging out and you're like, I have a question about whatever, drop that into the YouTube page that you're on, or the Facebook page, and we've got answers, and sometimes we even share them. And we do that with love, and we are always excited to kind of see what you're on about, and really very much looking forward to getting our atomic think tank energies together. And who knows, maybe people who are very engaging will be able to get into that whole system earlier than others. So, take that for what you will. But if you have questions about it, why don't you post on the YouTube video right here and ask away, and we'll be happy to answer. I think with that, I think we're done, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Another great ThursdAGE. We will have all 3 of you back. There's plenty more to come. But I think, what we'll do is we'll end on my particular favorite bit of media. I want to say to everybody, have a great rest of your week and weekend. We'll be back on Monday for Mutants and Masterminds Monday with a lot of great superhero stuff and updates about Valiant and all that good news. So make sure you're over there back in that Valiant, or pledging on the Valiant Kickstarter, because you're with us. You're a real Ronin. But I say to everybody, good day, and enjoy this.